afternoon, ladies and gentlemen, and welcome to another fine edition, another high standard of broadcasting right here on the Alex Morgan Show. This 73rd edition has really been a long time coming. I'll be honest with you. I've been busy here lately as I can be. It's not because that I don't want to do this. It's just that I have conflicting circumstances sometimes, and things don't always work out the way we would like them to, unfortunately. Been having a little equipment issues, software issues, about any kind of issue that you could imagine under the sun today. I did, however, manage to get our phone line rigged in with the audio to the show, and I was going to try this a little bit different tonight. I wanted to record a video, and then maybe do some editing, that sort of thing. And this way I can stay away from the live streaming, the double live streaming, should I say. Streaming two shows at once. And I've been doing a little figuring on my internet, and I found out that the top speed of my internet is 5 megabytes per second, and it puts out anywhere between 4.2 to 4.6, maybe 4.8, you know, when it's good. So yeah, I'm gonna see how this works out. I think it'll work a lot better, actually. I think my little action cam may be dead, actually. Let me check it here. Okay, it's on. Okie dokie. Yeah. Let me just connect to it now, and I'll have two recordings going, so I can do a little editing maybe later. I'm gonna splice in some videos that we're gonna be covering. But like I said, this has actually been a long time coming, and I'm just not talking about today. I'm talking about prior weeks leading up to today. I keep so much on my mind, and I just want y'all to realize that I'm not the best guy for this job. You know, I understand that, and I understand that somebody else probably could do a lot better than me. You know, I'm not going to deny that. But listen, I've about decided that you can't trust much of anything what you hear. I don't care who you hear it from. I'm not even kidding about this. I don't trust nothing I hear. Like, not even if it's, well, I trust what, my mom, my dad tells me, my family, my immediate family. But now when it comes to anybody else, and I ain't trying to point no fingers here, but I'm going to tell y'all something. This alternative media is a great thing, okay? I'm not going to deny anybody that. The mainstream media, aka the lamestream media, as somebody so well put it the other day, I forget who it was exactly, but I laughed my butt off when I heard that, saw it on the TV. That was some funny stuff right there. People will tell you anything, okay? Especially when they're paid to tell you something or have a particular narrative. And listen, this is where I'm going with this, okay? Now, I'm just going to be 100% blunt with y'all. I'm pretty much talking about InfoWars here, okay? Now, going back to before Donald Trump ever announced his intent to run for president in 2015. I used to listen to InfoWars a lot back then, okay? And that was when I liked to listen to it. Like, that was back when, like, Alex Jones never say nothing about being a Republican or anything like that. He was like totally bipartisan. So like after Trump after he announces his intent to run, so like InfoWars, everybody at InfoWars like just jumps on the bandwagon, just right out of the gate. And I admit, I was a little shaky at first when it come to being for Donald Trump. I mean, a guy like Donald Trump. This is a guy who, like, when I think before he ever ran for president, like, when I thought of Donald Trump, I thought, hey, man, that's that guy that's got that golden commode, okay? Now, who on earth, besides Donald Trump, do you know of who is rumored to own a golden commode? The guy literally takes a dump on anywhere from, I would say, 10 to 24 carats. I mean, you know what I'm saying? Like, that's out there, man. Like, really, okay? When you think about it, hey, there ain't nobody got it as bad as me, okay? I mean, well, they probably are, I guess, yeah, whatever. I guess they do. But, I mean, I'm not gonna lie, okay? I'm not lived the best life that I possibly could have. But then again, I've not lived the worst life that you could possibly imagine either, But when it comes to somebody who owns a commode that is made of gold, that's a little bit out there, okay, folks? I'm sorry, but it is. And then one day he just automatically just announces his intent now to run for president. Mind-boggling, okay? Well, the first thing that I ever thought, there's no way that Donald Trump could be sincere, could, be any what of a decent human being when it comes to running for president. Who else we got? Well, we got Hillary Clinton over here. We got somebody named Bernie Sanders who talks pretty good campaign and all. He's just, got a little socialist issue going on here and there and whatever. So, we got Jeb Bush, we got Marco Rubio, we got Ben Carson, we got Ted Cruz. Yeah. Little Marco. I tell you what, folks. I never seen anybody do that before in my life, okay? Just bam, bam, bam. One debate after another. One state after another. I mean, during the primary and leading up to the nomination. Oh my God! I mean, I tell you what it was like watching Donald Trump during this past election, folks. Okay. Now, I've watched college basketball my whole life. Okay, and like when I was growing up, I would die. Well, I wouldn't die, but I lived to see March Madness come, and I always rooted for the Wildcats, whatever. But like if they didn't win it, then I always wanted like some team that come from nowhere, Cinderella, blah blah blah. But now you can sit here and compare politics to sports all you want to, but I've never witnessed anything like that before in my life. You have a businessman that been in business 35 years of his life, maybe. I don't know. I ain't done that. I ain't looked into the guy that much, but he owned everybody, and he spoke the truth. He spoke what everybody wanted to hear. And how could you not vote for a guy who was saying what he was saying, despite the Democrats' poor excuse for a candidate? Okay, I'm gonna leave it at that. Okay, that when they give Hillary Clinton the nomination, the Democratic nomination, that was an insult to our intelligence, folks. It really was. They were attempting to screw us, to tell us about it, and then to make us like it. Yeah. Expected a whole country full of Democrats to vote for her. Okay? So you have the same people who elected Obama, elected Donald Trump president. That's amazing, folks. It really is. But anyways, I've been talking to y'all about, 16 and a half minutes now. Let's get into some videos. Let's do a little bit of that and a little bit of this. The number y'all want to call tonight, it is 276-524-0307. something about Bill Cosby being found guilty. I'll go ahead and get into that. Jury finds Bill Cosby guilty in sexual assault retrial. The jury found comedian Bill Cosby guilty on all 3 counts of aggravated indecent assault in a Montgomery County, Pennsylvania courthouse. The jury, made up of 7 men and 5 women, began deliberating the case Wednesday. Former Temple University employee Andrea Constant alleged that Cosby drugged her and sexually assaulted her at his home in Philadelphia in 2004. I don't know a lot about Bill Cosby, but I'm going to tell y'all this. There's a little talk guy named Dick Gregory's been saying for a while now. Turns out that he's been talking about, well, I don't like to get into race much, but you know, this is my show, so we'll talk about, whoops, sorry about that. We'll get into anything over here. Let me see if I can get a hold of that. Come here. Yeah. Okay. Yeah. Hello. But what he's been saying is, see, Cosby's a billionaire, okay? And NBC was filing for bankrupt, whatever, and up for sale, and he was trying to buy it. Well, he said that, okay, like the Illuminati, whatever, and the people, these people right here, this is Lucifer, by the way. This little eye, for my TV viewers, this little eye right here is Lucifer, okay? You see these famous people, these puppets on a string, these whatever you want to call them. When you see them making these little gestures right here, where they cover one eye and have one eye open, this is what they're symbolizing, folks. This thing right here on the back of your dollar bill, okay? Just in case y'all didn't know. Like, when I was growing up, like, we used to watch those Disney cartoons all the time, and when I got, I don't know, feel 6th grade, like, my friends started saying, hey, man, it says sex right there on the Lion King, and the Little Mermaid, man, is making sexual gestures, there's penises on castles, and da-di-da-di-da, and, let me see, you know. It turns out, man, Walt Disney, all them guys are perverts. Okay? That's what they are, okay? I'm just saying, they're perverts. Hollywood, man, they should change their names to, Dirty Wood. You know what I'm saying? By the way, the witches, the druids, okay, Y'all know what? Is anybody out there studying any druidism in their days? My God, hey, let me tell you about the druids and the witches. Y'all know about the witches' magic wands, Harry Potter and stuff. Let's check it out right here on the big Megatron. Hold on, give me a sec. Let's see if I can work this thing. Come on. I'm gonna share a little knowledge with y'all tonight. Make this a little educational thing for y'all. Magic wands. Y'all see the magic wands when you search on Google. Here's a pretty good image of what you'd think one would look like. It's even got a little funny occult symbol on it. I'm not sure what that. You can see occult Wicca right here. But anyways, the wood that they would use to make their magic wands out of. Okay, first of all, the druids. The druids are the ones who worshipped at Stonehenge. I wouldn't say that they were responsible for building it, because whoever you're talking about, a megalithic site here, with stones that weighed massive amounts, 60 to 100 tons, I would say, per block. So you're talking giants, okay, folks. I want to start doing a lot more giant videos and kind of educating y'all on giants, but there's a lot of knowledge out there, folks. There's a lot of hidden knowledge. I'd like to get into all that tonight. I really would, but we'll save that for another night. But yeah, I'll get to work on a new. I'm in works for about 2 videos right now. It's work, folks, and take care of my little family. I hope y'all out there appreciate what we do over here in the Bluegrass State. My dream before I get in. Okay, I got off on the little magic wand thing. I'm sorry. See, that just goes to show how much I've got on my mind. Listen, okay. Magic wands, they would make their magic wands out of holly, okay? Now, the ones who came here, who later went to Hollywood, they were Jews. That's why they all changed their names. But when it comes to Judaism, the Jews who went astray, they practice Kabbalism, okay? Kabbalism is is a it's a type of black magic, folks. All I know to say, they cast spells, they use wands, they like summon demons to do their bidding and da di da di da. So they would make their wands out of holly. So when they went to Hollywood and named it Hollywood, this is why they named it Hollywood. It's because Hollywood would become their magic wands, which from which they would cast the ultimate magic spell on the world. Okay, folks? Does that make any sense? Have I blowed your effing mind tonight? Because, and there's something else you got to remember when it comes to this type of trash. They when it comes to like things having meaning or whatever, things usually have two meanings. Okay, that's why, like, when you're a Freemason, you don't know what you're there for until your 33rd degree. And man, I got a cousin right there as a Freemason. I ain't gonna mention no names. But oh my God, if he only knew. And I don't know if I should talk to him, and be like, man, I know you're a good Christian. You're the best feller I've ever met in my life. You're a pillar of the community. But it's the devil. It's 666. It's Mark of the Beast. It's that serious. And you have a lot of people that's just disappeared, folks. Just gone, vanished, trace, gone. And I don't want to be one of those people, but let me tell you something. I truly believe that this is something that's worth losing your life for, okay? And for one thing, I ain't got much to lose anyways, except, my little family. I'd hate to leave my little family, but they're a lot of why I do what I do. I study this stuff and I share this knowledge with y'all. And getting back to my dream, I want to tell y'all about my dream before I get into any more news. I talked about Bill Cosby. Let me go ahead and close this out. But yeah, I'd hate to. I'd hate to lose any of my family. I really would. Or I'd hate to leave my family or anything like that. I've lost too many of them as it is. You know what I'm saying? It's awful to think about. But this is something that we can win. This is something that we can't lose, okay? But I highly suggest y'all check into Dick Gregory. He's a black comedian who was famous back in the 1960s, 1970s. He was part of the civil rights movement. He knew Martin Luther King. He knew Michael Jackson. He knew lots of famous people, and he spent massive amounts of money just to find out the truth. Okay, and he's dead now. He died last year, 2017, but he he can tell you stuff that will blow your mind. Meanwhile, George H.W. Bush in ICU just days after wife's death.
What are you learning?
So, Wolf, we have just learned that former President George H.W. Bush, 41, who just buried his wife, First Lady Barbara Bush, on Saturday, has been hospitalized. We have been told that, unfortunately, Sunday morning, yesterday, he was admitted to Houston Methodist Hospital and that he is in intensive care. We expect more details to come out soon, but here's what we've learned. We have been told that he was suffering from an infection that led to sepsis, which can be life-threatening, that he was admitted to the ICU at Houston Methodist yesterday, and that unfortunately he has been struggling. We were told that he was in very serious condition. I assume if he's in the ICU that it was critical condition. We were told that his blood pressure kept dropping and that a couple of times there was serious concern about whether he was going to pull through. I'm told he's still being treated, is in the ICU, that he has been stabilized, but we're really waiting for an official report. Obviously, Wolf, at his age and his health concerns, he suffers from Parkinson's. With this infection, with the sepsis, this is very serious. And of course, all the more upsetting.
He's out of intensive care now.
His family, his friends, his staff.
Former President George H.W. has been moved out of intensive care to a regular patient room after earlier contracting an infection that spread to his blood, a family spokesman said on Wednesday. The 41st president is, quote, alert and talking to hospital staff. Yeah, mute the video, don't mute the ad.
Barbara Bush's funeral. Is there such a thing, a medical thing, as a broken heart?
Yeah, it's
yeah.
Some people think of this as sort of more anecdotal stories, and they are, but there has been some science around what is known as broken heart syndrome. First of all, that's a syndrome where, in response to some devastating loss, like what the president suffered here, the body releases all
Dr. Sanjay Gupta, CNN chief medical correspondent.
To become weakened and to even fail. Broken heart syndrome. And also.
So, anyways, yeah, I would be brokenhearted too. I really would. I know that he's evil, and he likes grabbing women by the butt. But, nobody lives forever, no matter how many blood transfusions you get, no matter how much blood you drink. Okay? Believe that. That's how they live so long. That's where they get their life expansion at. That's their fountain of youth. Okay, folks? It is. It is. It is. It is. It is. It is. Yes, it is. Clay Dunn-Lemon.
One big breaking news story after another.
Yeah.
First, on the Russia investigation. James Comey's memos about his conversations with President Trump have been turned over to Congress tonight, and CNN has obtained a copy. Those memos are, of course, a key part of Robert Mueller's investigation of potential obstruction of justice, and they are full of fascinating details. We're going to go through them page by page for you, and we will bring you all of it tonight. Then, there's the president adding a big name to his legal team. I'm talking about Rudy Giuliani. That's after one legal A-lister after another turned him down. Now Giuliani, one of Trump's most loyal supporters, who also worked with Mueller in the Justice Department, tells CNN he's coming on to help push the Mueller investigation to an end. According to him, that end could come in a matter of weeks, which seems just a wee bit optimistic, but is exactly what President Trump wants to hear. Also today, former FBI Director James Comey telling CNN's Jake Tapper why he thinks it's possible the Russians could have compromising information about President Trump.
There's a reason I say it's possible. Two things struck me. One, the president's constantly bringing it up with me to deny it. And in my experience as an investigator, it's not an ironclad rule, but it's a striking thing when someone constantly brings up something to deny that you didn't ask about. And then second, I've always been struck in my encounters with him that he wouldn't criticize Vladimir Putin even in private, which struck me as odd.
So it is important to note that Comey didn't cite any actual evidence, just his gut feeling that it's possible. Let's discuss start now. Bring in CNN's Justice reporter Laura Jarrett with our breaking news on those Comey memos. Laura, good evening to you. Thanks for joining us. It is breaking news tonight that CNN has obtained the Comey memos that were provided from the Justice Department to Capitol Hill. Give us a lowdown on what we're learning.
Well, Don, the memos are detailed and they are vivid.
They
largely track what James Comey has told Congress on previous occasions about his interactions with President Trump and also what he says in his book that's just been released this week. But there are some new nuggets in here, including his recitation, at least, that President Trump conveyed serious reservations about the judgment of former National Security Advisor Michael Flynn. But we're also learning in this memo that James Comey had an interesting interaction with former Chief of Staff, Reince Priebus, on February 8th, just days before Michael Flynn was fired. And I want to read to you a part of the memo where Comey describes this interaction with Priebus. He says that he asked me, meaning Comey, if this was, quote, a private conversation. I replied that it was. He, meaning Priebus, then said he wanted to ask me a question and I could decide if it was appropriate to answer. He then asked, do you have a FISA warrant on Mike Flynn? I paused for a few seconds and then said that I would answer here, but this illustrated the kind of question that had to be asked and answered through established channels. I said the answer blank, it's been redacted here. I then explained that the normal channel was from DOJ leadership to the White House counsel about such things. He goes on, Don, to say, I explained that it was important that communications about any particular case go through that channel to protect us and to protect the White House from any accusations of improper influence. Now, Don, of course, we're getting some reaction from Capitol Hill already tonight. Democrats saying that these memos largely corroborate what James Comey has already said about loyalty pledges from the president. But we're also hearing from Republicans who say when he talks about lifting the Russia cloud, he's really referring to, meaning the president is referring to the cloud of salacious allegations, not trying to do anything improper with lifting the larger Russia investigation, Don.
So, Laura, Mueller's team didn't object to this?
No. In fact, I'm told, Don, according to a source familiar, that the Justice Department consulted with the special counsel's team prior to releasing these memos to Congress, and the special counsel did not object.
All right. Laura, thank you very much. And as Laura said, there's we got the memos here, and there's lots of them. I don't know if we can get a wide shot here, but I have them all on my desk, and we're going to go through them. It's a lot to get through, and we have a lot of people assembled here to get us through all of these memos.
I'm sure you do, Don.
We're reading them, and we'll tell you exactly what they mean. I want to bring in now CNN's Crystal Liza and Pamela Brown, also law enforcement analyst Josh Campbell. Okay, so there's lots to get to here. Here we go. This is a Thursday night. Josh, the president talked.
I hate CNN, okay? I hate them. God. I really hate them now. Let's see what this one is. I've got some.
You have no doubt heard former FBI Director James Comey detailing his rise and his time as the nation's top law enforcement official and sounding the alarm about the future of America under President Trump. This week he's been particularly candid in his criticism of the president, who has, of course, fired back, attacking Comey as a, quote, slimeball, even dubbing him Slippery James Comey. But right now, at a crucial moment in this very public war of words about very important issues, there is a lot of breaking news, with a source telling CNN that later today, the Department of Justice is expected to allow Congress to see Comey's memos detailing his interactions with President Trump, and another source saying that the Justice Department is looking at possible criminal charges against Comey's former deputy, Andrew McCabe, for lying about leaking. Amidst this barrage of major breaking news involving James Comey and the Department of Justice, we have with us today the former FBI director and the author of his new book, Higher Loyalty, Truth, Lies, and Leadership. James Comey, welcome to The Lead. Thanks for being here.
Thanks for having me here, Jake.
So let's talk about the breaking news. CNN is breaking the story. The Justice Department Inspector General sending a criminal referral to the U.S. Attorney in D.C. regarding your former deputy, Andrew McCabe. They did this after releasing a report concluding McCabe repeatedly lied to investigators and to you about a leak to the Wall Street Journal in which he confirmed, or he had people leak to the Wall Street Journal, confirming the existence of an investigation into the Clinton Foundation. If they ultimately bring a case against Andrew McCabe, would you be a witness for the prosecution?
Potentially. I don't know whether the reporting is accurate. I know it's CNN reporting, but I don't know it of my own accord. But sure, given that the IG's report reflects interactions that Andy McCabe had with me and other FBI senior executives, I could well be a witness.
You express a lot of horror in the book when public officials or even celebrities lie to investigators, whether David Petraeus or Scooter Libby,
Martha Stewart.
Martha Stewart.
Martha
So I
Stewart.
would assume that you would be upset at Andrew McCabe. I haven't really heard you criticize him the same way you criticize those others.
Well, I hope I didn't criticize them personally. I think it's very important.
No, the act, though.
Oh, sure. The act is one I take very seriously, and so does the Department of Justice. What's going on so far has been the accountability mechanisms of the department working, because it's a department that's committed to the truth, and so it's working. I don't know whether there's a criminal referral, what will happen, but that's part of accountability and examination of what the consequences should be if there was material lying.
But how do you feel about your former deputy, according to the Inspector General, lying to you, lying to investigators for a leak that the Inspector General said was only motivated to preserve his own reputation, having nothing to do with the FBI or the public's right to know?
They're conflicted. I like him very much as a person, but sometimes even good people do things they shouldn't do. I've read the report. I'm not the judge in the case. I'm not the discipline decision maker in the case. I think it is accountability mechanisms working, and they should work, because it's not acceptable in the FBI or the Justice Department for people to lack candor. It's something we take really seriously.
The Justice Department is also
We take
expected
that
today
stuff serious
to
around
begin
here,
the process
buddy.
of letting Congress see your memos detailing your interactions with President Trump. Is that the right decision, to let Congress see them?
I don't know, because I don't know what considerations the department has taken into account. It's fine by me.
It's fine by
You don't
me.
care.
I don't care. I don't have any. I don't have any views on it. I'm totally fine with transparency. I've tried to be transparent throughout this, and I think what folks will see if they get to see the memos is I've been consistent since the very beginning, right after my encounters with President Trump.
Yeah,
and I'm consistent in the book and try to be transparent in the book as well.
Senator Grassley, the chairman of the Judiciary Committee, says that there are 7 memos.
Never come out of
4
him.
of them are classified. Is that right?
That's right.
I don't know, because I don't have the memos. I don't know exactly how many there are. Some may be memos, some may be emails. There's somewhere between 5 and 10. It may be 7, it may be 8. I don't remember. And I think some of them, I know when I created some of them, they were classified, but I don't know how many of that group.
One of them is, the classified one is obviously from when you told President Trump in Trump Tower about what was in that two-page annex about the Steele dossier, the summary of what was in the Steele dossier? What would the other classified ones be about?
Well, I can't answer that if they're classified.
You can't even say the subject of them, terrorism?
Well, there were a number of conversations I had that related to our investigative responsibilities and that I considered classified at the time. And if I go beyond that, I'll be breaking the seal on them.
We're just learning that Bloomberg News is reporting the Deputy Attorney General Rod Rosenstein told President Trump that he is not a, quote, target of the Mueller investigation, of the Russia probe. At this point in the investigation, what might that mean, telling the president he's not a target?
I don't know what it means. It's a fairly standard part of any investigation, trying to decide whether a person you're encountering is a witness, a subject, or a target. A target is someone on whom the investigation, the grand jury, has developed significant evidence sufficient to charge. Witness is somebody who has nothing to do with any exposure, and a subject is everybody in the middle. So I don't know the context in which the Deputy Attorney General did that, but that's the general framework.
The president has obviously had a lot of words in response to you for the last year and change, especially this last week. He's called you a liar and a leaker. Our reporting says that a Republican who recently spoke with the president says that the president feels as though he has weathered your book tour. Has he weathered the book tour, or has he come out unscathed?
No idea. The book tour is not about the president. It's about my hope that I can be part of facilitating a conversation about our values. President Trump figures in that, obviously, because he's part of the stories I'm trying to tell to illustrate ethical leadership. Because it's not about him, I haven't thought about it in terms of whether he's weathering it or not weathering it.
The book's about President Trump to a great deal. I mean, there's a lot. I read the book. There's a lot in there about your time as a U.S. attorney, about your childhood. But there's a lot in there about President Trump, especially in terms of leadership. He's an example of how not to be a leader, in your view. He is the example of somebody who is a bully.
He's a bully.
Throughout the book about how you hate bullies.
You hate bullies.
I think he's a counterpoint. That's why he's in there. I couldn't write about ethical leadership and illustrate it with stories without telling stories of someone I think fails to reflect the values of an ethical leader. So sure, he's 3 of the 14 chapters. He
fails the values of an ethical leader.
It's not a book about Donald Trump, and I hope very much it'll be useful long into the future beyond the Trump presidency.
You leveled some very tough charges about him. You call him morally unfit. You call his presidency a forest fire. You say he's violating the rule of law. Do you think the nation would be better off if Hillary Clinton had won?
A lot better off.
I can't answer that.
I can't answer that.
That's something that hypothetical is too hard for me to go back in time and try and answer.
You paint a pretty dire picture of President Trump. It's hard to imagine how you don't think the nation would be better off if Hillary Clinton had won.
Yeah, I don't think about it in those terms, though, Jake. I think we have the current president, who was, in my view, legitimately elected, is serving as president. The question is he adhering to our values? He's clearly not, so what do we do about it? And I think the first thing we do is not get numb to it. When he calls for the jailing of private citizens in his tweets, don't shrug, but realize that's not okay, that's not normal.
It's interesting that you won't go as far to say as that Hillary Clinton the nation would be better off if Hillary were president, because you have called for the nation to respond to the challenge of Trump, in your view, by voting. Presumably by voting against what he represents. Is that not a fair interpretation?
I actually think of it, maybe it's the same thing, but I think of it in terms of voting for something else, which is the core values of this country, which are more important than any policy dispute. So I don't care whether people find that in a Republican or a Democrat or neither. It's important that our leaders reflect those values, because that's all we are.
So you have spent decades building a reputation for being evidence-based, for being nonpartisan. The FBI is an organization that is supposed to be evidence-based and nonpartisan. Do you worry that by painting this stark portrait of President Trump and suggesting that the American people should vote for something other than the lack of values that he represents in your construct, that you are sullying both the brand of Comey and the brand of the FBI?
Yeah, I don't think so, and I certainly hope not. Because I'm not criticizing President Trump because he's a Republican or because he has a certain view on taxes or immigration or anything else. I'm criticizing him on the grounds of values, which is at the center of the FBI, and something that should be at the center of all of our evaluations of our leaders. So I get that it's relevant to politics, but I see it as something actually more important than partisan politics.
Something you said to me in one of your interviews stood out. Quote, if you've been investigating something for almost a year, and you don't have a general sense of where it's likely to end up, you should be fired because you're incompetent. You write something similar to that in the book, and it's you explaining why you wrote the letter, basically exonerating Hillary Clinton from criminal behavior before you had even interviewed her.
That's what he ordered.
Let's apply that same
Good
standard
job, James.
to the Mueller investigation.
Good
You
job.
oversaw the Russia investigation for almost 10 months.
Way to
Do
take
you
one for
have
the
a general
team.
sense of how that investigation is going to end up?
In some respects, I did at the time, but not completely. I suspect that the team that's investigating it now has a general sense. I have no idea what that is. But again, it's a general feeling that on the current course and speed, we're likely to end up in this direction or that direction.
And where did you think it was going to end up? Did you think it was going to end up with people around President Trump being found guilty of conspiring, aiding, and abetting with Russians?
I can't say. I've left that out of the book for reasons that should be obvious. I can't talk about classified information or sensitive investigative details, so I'm not going to say.
But your sense of where the investigation was headed is not classified. It's just your impression. And obviously the investigation has continued since then. Why won't you say? I mean, people want to know. You have left the impression that there's something there in your interviews. You have said, when asked, do the Russians have something on President Trump? You've said it's possible.
It's possible.
It's possible, which is not a very FBI director answer. Don't you think?
I think it's an honest and calibrated answer.
Well,
So I hope that's an FBI. I'm not the FBI director, but I hope that's.
I'm not the FBI director.
Well, when you gave the press conference about Hillary
Bye,
Clinton in
guy.
2016 in the summer, you said you didn't say she didn't lie, or you didn't say
She
it's
didn't
possible.
lie.
You said you found no evidence that she had lied.
I
You
found no
found
evidence
that
she
she
lied.
had that email server knowing that it was improper. But you're not using the same construct of there is evidence or there isn't evidence.
no evidence.
You're saying it's possible. That leaves the impression for people that there might be stuff out there, that there might be evidence that President Trump is under the thumb of the Kremlin.
Yeah, but I see that, Jake, as you're asking me about two different things. I'm not going to talk about the investigation of possible cooperation between Americans and the Russian effort to influence our election. What you're asking me about now is, why did I say what I said when people asked me whether I thought it was possible that the Russians had derogatory information on President Trump? I think it's unlikely, but I think it's possible.
I think
But
it's
isn't
unlikely,
that
but I
construct
think it's
unfair to
possible.
President Trump in a way? Because the question was if President Trump was compromised by the Russians. You say it's possible. I don't think it's likely, but it's possible. I mean, it's possible there's life on other planets. We don't know.
We don't know.
You, somebody like you with your
We don't know if they
reputation,
are any other planets or
saying
not,
it's
buddy.
possible it's also possible that it's not true. Isn't that another way you could look at the same question?
Sure, but I'm not looking to the stars saying there might be green men out there. There's a reason I say it's possible. Two things struck me. One, the president's constantly bringing it up with me to deny it. And in my experience as an investigator, it's not an ironclad rule, but it's a striking thing when someone constantly brings up something to deny that you didn't ask about. And then second, I've always been struck in my encounters with him that he wouldn't criticize Vladimir Putin even in private.
Wouldn't criticize him at all. I had to stop that video right there. I gotta make a point. This is so childish, so sophomoric that it's unreal. Okay, folks, you have this mediocre of a beta homosexual male here talking to another beta homosexual male, Mr. Tapper, and they're talking about the people's elected president of these United States having Russian hookers in a hotel room at the Ritz-Carlton, I think, in Moscow, where the Obamas so happened to stay in the exact room, in the exact bed that they slept in. Okay, now, they supposedly, had Russian hookers urinate all over the bed, all over Trump. This is the kind of people and the kind of imaginations that we are facing, folks. Can't y'all see that it would take a sick individual to even think of something like this? Let alone let Bob over here or Jack or X or I or Y suggest it, suggest something of that nature. And Bill over here or A or B or Q or whatever his name is, like, yeah, buddy, let's do that. I bet you we can get everybody to believe it. Hitler said that the bigger the lie, the more that they would believe it, okay? I'm just telling y'all what Hitler said. Yeah. I'm going to do away with that big light right there. Then I need it easy. Thought I had a booger, man, over in the corner hiding. But let's get back to Comey. Whatever his name is.
Now, those aren't definitive, those aren't conclusive facts, but the reason I'm saying it's possible is there are things that lead my common sense to believe it's possible.
But isn't that kind of cute? I mean, you're not saying that you have evidence of it.
Cute.
You're just saying it's possible. I mean, do you have evidence that President Trump has been compromised by the Russians? Have you seen evidence of it?
No, and I think I've said that throughout. I'm trying to be transparent. Here's my reason. Here's why an honest answer has to be it's possible. Now, I'm not saying it's likely. In fact, I've said all along, and I'm repeating it to you here today. It's unlikely in my view, but it's possible.
It's unlikely in my view,
about the
but it's possible.
You can talk about it. In January 2017, when you met with President Trump and you did that oral presentation of what's in that two-page memo summarizing the Steele dossier, we know from the book that you talked about these unverified allegations involving him and prostitutes. Did you brief him about any of the other things in the Steele dossier? Claims that his associates, Michael Cohen or Paul Manafort, were potentially working with the Russians, or was it only about the prostitutes?
It was only about the salacious part of it.
Why? Why only about that?
Because that was the part that the leaders of the intelligence community agreed he needed to be told about, because we knew it and thought it was about to become public. And if it was true, we didn't know whether it was true. It would be important.
If it was true, we didn't know if it was true.
As part of a defensive briefing.
While we're on the subject of the dossier, by the time you left, how much of it do you think you were able to either prove to be correct, verify, or debunk?
The work was still underway. I wouldn't be able to say anyway if I was still there, but the work was still underway when I was fired.
Some of it, is it fair to say that some of it you verified as true and some of it you debunked as false?
I think all I can say is a core part of it was consistent with lots of other intelligence, core part of it being the Russians are engaged in an orchestrated campaign to influence the American election.
The Michael Cohen, I want to ask you about him. He's now under criminal investigation by the U.S. Attorney for the Southern District of New York, your former job. CNN's reporting that one of President Trump's former lawyers is warning the president that Michael Cohen could flip. And also we're hearing, and lots of people have reported, that President Trump and his advisors are much more concerned about the investigation into Michael Cohen than they are into the Russia investigation. Put on your legal analyst hat for a second. Why might that be? Why would they be more worried about Michael Cohen than about Robert Mueller?
I'm going to...
Go ahead and stop that video right there. But anyway, folks, yeah, you got to think about it. It is so sophomoric. For one, like I said, you have a guy who goes number 2 in a commode.
Michael Cohen.
It's made of gold.
I'm gonna.
Okay. And to think that he would get off on a bunch of Russian hookers urinating on him and a bed that the Obamas slept in. I mean, for real? For real. You expect me to believe that? And what was the first thing that I told y'all tonight, folks? That I don't believe nothing that they tell me. If they told me it was raining marshmallows, I'd laugh at them. We have Bill Cosby here on cover of Drudge. Cosby guilty, guilty, guilty. With his mouth open. Well, let's get back to this Comey interview. He said, I'm not the FBI director, by God. Didn't he?
Michael Cohen than about Robert Mueller?
I'm going to resist putting on the legal analyst hat. You've got all these awesome legal analysts at CNN. I'm not one of them.
They're awesome over CNN.
Dossier. We know that the FBI has been trying to verify whether or not the entire dossier is true or not. Is he vulnerable in the Russia investigation, Michael Cohen?
That's not something I can answer.
I can't answer.
In the book, you detail several interactions with the president that made you uncomfortable. Ultimately, you accepted President Trump's dinner invitation. You promised honest loyalty. You later agreed that Michael Flynn, was a good man. Now, you write that your experience in high school gave you a, quote, lifelong hatred for bullies. Do you think President Trump is a bully, and do you hate him?
I definitely don't hate him.
I definitely don't hate him.
There are things he does that make me uncomfortable and I think are inappropriate, that are in some ways like a bully-like behavior, but I don't hate Donald Trump. I don't even dislike Donald Trump.
I want to ask you a devil's advocate question about President Trump. You were a person who privately briefed him about this salacious allegation involving prostitutes. Is it not possible that President Trump, when he asked for your loyalty, had in his mind the idea that here's an FBI director, the only FBI director I'm really familiar with is J. Edgar Hoover, and I know he blackmailed politicians all the time. Is it not possible that he thought he was asking for your loyalty because he was worried that you were going to drop all this incriminating information on him that may or may not have been true?
It's possible.
Possible.
I'm only saying that because you said that.
I want to get clarity on something else that you said this week. You said this week that President Trump, quote, treats women like meat. Is that from some personal experience that you saw or heard about, or is that just from things that he has said?
Just from media, not from personal experience.
I want to ask specifically about, if you could put on your hat, your legal analyst hat. I'm going to ask you one more time.
Which I'm refusing to
do. But to look at, I know you've been asked about the obstruction of justice charge, and you said it's possible that there's an obstruction of justice case to be made, specifically with firing you and asking you after the meeting when he asked you to drop the Flynn matter. Look at the conspiracy matter, aiding and abetting, when I know collusion is not an actual criminal charge. If you look at what there is there, we know the Russians hacked the Democrats. We know that at least two people in the Trump world, Papadopoulos and Trump Jr., were approached by people with Kremlin ties and told about dirt on Hillary Clinton. We know that there was an expression of a desire for that information. We know that two people in the Trump world reached out to Julian Assange. We know that Julian Assange and WikiLeaks published these emails, and we know that President Trump made a lot of hay out of those emails. First of all, am I missing anything? Is there anything else in the conspiracy that we don't know? I can't answer that. Of everything I just said, which is all in the public domain, is that enough for a conspiracy charge against anybody?
It's really not something I can answer. I would say this. You'd certainly, if you're the special prosecutor, want to understand those facts and any around them to try and make that analysis.
But is there a case there?
You don't want me to say it's possible again. It's possible, but I don't know.
It's possible.
You write in the book about your controversial decision to notify Congress that you were reopening the Clinton investigation just a few days before the election. You've been asked a lot about this, so I'm not going to ask the same questions other people have. But you did say you were thinking at the time, quote, if I hide this from the American people, she'll be illegitimate the moment she's elected. Didn't that happen except to Donald Trump? In other words, you didn't disclose, and I understand why you didn't, but you didn't disclose the Russia investigation to the American people. And now there are a lot of people who think he's illegitimate, and it's something that he himself thinks is a cloud hanging over his presidency. Didn't, in avoiding, possibly trying to avoid doing one thing to Hillary Clinton, you did it to Trump?
I don't think so, because I think of the two investigations and everybody working on it.
But we'll stop that video right there. That's another video that I've been working on, which I haven't, got around to completely publishing yet.
Donald Trump's lawyer, Michael Cohen, is under criminal investigation. Trump personally called him today against standard legal advice. And right now, we're going to hear from a man who was inside the courtroom today, Cohen's adversary in the Stormy Daniels case, attorney Michael Avenatti. I'm going to ask him what went down, what he saw, and why he says he now has a clue about when Michael Cohen could plead the Fifth Amendment in this case. That big interview is the lead block of our show. I'm going to turn to it momentarily. But it comes amidst this rising heat on Trump. James Comey taking on the president and going there.
I honestly never thought these words would come out of my mouth, but I don't know whether the current president of the United States was with prostitutes peeing on each other in Moscow in 2013.
Yeah.
It's possible.
It's possible.
The former head of the FBI, a Republican, talking about his new book that everyone wants their hands on and making a stunning assertion about an issue that's at the heart of this criminal probe into Trump's link to Putin. If there's any doubt as to what you just heard your former FBI director say, I'm just going to play it for you again.
I honestly never thought these words would come out of my mouth, but I don't know whether the current president of the United States was with prostitutes peeing on each other in Moscow in 2013. It's possible, but I don't know.
It's Trump or his associates. The feds now saying Cohen is formally, quote, under criminal investigation. They're also telling the court they have evidence supporting this emergency raid on Cohen, but some of the hottest details are redacted. The feds say they've spent months probing Cohen's personal business dealings, and that's not all. Because Cohen and Trump are challenging this seizure of the evidence, the feds came back blasting today at Cohen. They say they seized this evidence because of his misconduct, and they go further, saying, and this is important, they say today that Michael Cohen doesn't really practice law, and he basically only works for one person anyway. If that sounds familiar, it is a concept from The Godfather that a former U.S. Senator raised right here on the beat this week.
Let me explain the Trump Organization. There's a wonderful scene in the Mario Puzo's The Godfather where Tom Hagen is asked about his representation of Michael Corleone. And he says, I have a very unusual law practice. I have a single client who insists on hearing bad news immediately.
I have a single client who insists on hearing bad news immediately. Think about that and this incredible report breaking tonight that Donald Trump was calling Michael Cohen today. This is all about whether Cohen equals Trump. Now, that was one expert's view. Tonight, I can tell you the feds agree. They say in these filings under oath here, he has exceedingly few clients beyond Trump, and that he does basically, quote, no legal work. He sent 0 emails to Trump. This looks bad for Cohen. It looks like the effort by Michael Cohen and Trump to protect this evidence that the feds already have is backfiring. You know, it's never a good sign when your bodyguard needs a bodyguard or when your lawyer needs a lawyer. Now, Donald Trump's lawyer needed a lawyer really badly today, and now the feds say Donald Trump's lawyer doesn't really practice law, which raises a question that is hanging over all of this and that we can report tonight terrifies Trump. If Michael Cohen isn't Donald Trump's lawyer, what is he?
What is he?
Well, in the last 5 minutes, the New York Times has a new report. This begins. Trump's advisors have concluded a wide-ranging corruption investigation in New York into Michael Cohen poses a greater and more imminent threat to the president than even the special counsel's investigation. One man who was in the courtroom today and has this vested interest in the case is my guest, the lawyer for Stormy Daniels, Michael Avenatti. Thank you for being here.
Thanks, Ari. Good to have you.
When you look at Michael Cohen under this type of strain, and what the Fed said today, that he's not really a lawyer, does that ring true to you? Haven't you guys been litigating against each other?
Well, absolutely. I mean, Ari, this is something that we've been saying for weeks now. I've been stating that our case and the likely fallout from it was going to be substantial and was going to be more of a threat ultimately to Michael Cohen and the president than the Mueller investigation. I've been saying this for weeks. A lot of people doubted us at first. I don't think there's a lot of people doubting us at this point.
Is that because of your client Stormy Daniels, or is it because of things you learned about Michael Cohen and what he does for Trump?
Well, I think it's both. I think we brought a lot of attention to bear on a number of these issues. I think the raids that occurred on Monday, the timing of those, the scope of them, et cetera, is a direct result. I know it's a direct result of a lot of the work that we've done over the last 5 weeks. But with each passing 24 hours, Ari, this matter becomes more and more serious for Michael Cohen and the president. This is not some small investigation that was thrown together. I mean, this has the attention of some very, very qualified lawyers in the Southern District of New York.
You're talking about the federal prosecutors that are bearing down on Michael Cohen today. You're talking about reading these case files today. This really seemed to backfire. I mean, they took a 2x4 to Michael Cohen's head, and they said, not only are you not a good lawyer, you're not really someone who practices law.
You're not even a
There's
lawyer.
a bunch of other shady things hiding behind your JD. Have you seen a prosecutorial filing like this?
Not a lot, maybe on one other occasion in 18 years. But let me tell you why that is so critically important in this context. If they find that the communications between Michael Cohen and the president were not in furtherance of Michael Cohen practicing law, then there is a high likelihood that those are not attorney-client privilege communications.
You just said something that terrifies the White House, that Donald Trump knows. I want to put up on the screen this Washington Post headline. Trump's allies worry federal investigators may have already seized these recordings made by Cohen. Quote, it was his standard practice to do it. He recorded business and political conversations. That could be third-party verification of things he discussed with people around Trump. It could include Donald Trump. You're saying that part of the reason why the feds went in today, and you were in that courtroom, and said Michael Cohen's not really a lawyer, is because they want to say those aren't really privileged lawyer tapes.
Well, if there are tapes or whatever the communications are. But, Ari, I want to set the stage for a moment for your viewers, because this is important. Imagine you are communicating with an individual that you believe is your lawyer and that you have privilege with. So you're freewheeling in your communications with him because you think they're protected under the attorney-client privilege. And you do this for a number of years as it relates to a number of, let's just describe them as hairy issues. One day, the FBI kicks in the door, actually doesn't kick in the door, they knock, they're courteous. They raid his office and his home. They obtain these communications.
Right.
And you find out
And that's what terrifies him. I want you to stay with me. Matt Apuzzo, who broke the story that I mentioned and broke within the last 10 minutes, is joining me by phone. Michael's going to stay. Matt Apuzzo from the New York Times. Michael was just walking through why Donald Trump's most candid conversations ever might not actually be privileged as he long thought they were. Is that part of what you found in your reporting and why this is scaring them tonight?
Yeah, but the bigger problem with the reason that this is so scary for people around the president himself is they don't know what's been taken, right? So the FBI came in and they took all of these records and they don't know what the FBI has because the search warrants were super broad. They took stuff from a safety deposit box. They took stuff from his cell phones. They took information from his computers, and we don't know what's on it. And I don't just mean we, the reporters, don't know. Even the lawyers for Michael Cohen and Donald Trump, they don't know what's on it.
You're sort of putting it a little reverse. Donald Trump does know the worst things that he's talked to Michael Cohen about since he joined the Trump Organization in 2006.
Yeah, but he doesn't know what evidence that has been
Sure,
made that Michael Cohen has documented.
Yeah, of course. But the flip is, and I want to ask you about this, when you write that they now, around Trump, see this as a greater and more imminent threat to the president than the special counsel's investigation, is that based on a view or fear that there are things in the past that Michael Cohen was in on that could be more damaging than the Mueller probe?
I think the view is from both the uncertainty and also from the fact that this puts Michael Cohen in extreme legal jeopardy. And the concern, of course, is, they felt they had a real understanding of the Mueller investigation. They kind of knew where their vulnerabilities were. They knew where this was generally headed. They don't know. This is a big unknown for them.
I'm going to bring Michael back into this because Matt is describing the uncertainty. In my experience with clients, although uncertainty is something we all deal with in life, the clients who get the most nervous are the ones who think they did something that they're worried about people finding out about. I put that frame to you for your remarks, and I want to ask you as well. You said there may be a clue to when Michael Cohen next has a heat on him and might have to plead the fifth. Tell us about that as well.
Well, let me tell you in a statement that was made in court today by Michael Cohen's counsel. And in fact, this was in a declaration that he had filed before, I believe he filed it yesterday, before today's hearing. He attested to the following, Ari. He said that the number of documents that were seized that may involve the attorney-client privilege is in the thousands, if not millions. Those are not my words. Those are his words. Now, that's a lot of attorney-client privilege communications, and as you stated at the outset, we know that those communications, if they are privileged, or if they believe they were privileged, he only had one client. So it's not as if these thousands, if not millions, quote, these are quotes, those communications would all pertain to his work on behalf of the president.
Right, which goes back to even if Donald Trump doesn't do email, you're saying that he, by invoking attorney-client privilege for that much material, is effectively admitting that this is for Donald Trump. When would he, in your view, potentially have to plead the fifth?
He has been ordered to appear at 2 o'clock on Monday by the Honorable Judge Wood because she posed a number of questions to his lawyers in court today about Michael Cohen's law practice. They couldn't provide answers to some of the most basic questions. She became very frustrated, and she basically ordered them to bring their client, Michael Cohen, to court 2 p.m. this Monday so that he could be available to potentially answer her questions from the bench, which cannot be a good sign for Michael Cohen, and it may force him into a position, Ari, where he may have to plead the fifth in open court on Monday afternoon.
It's extraordinary. Michael, you're not a court reporter. You're an attorney. You have a side in this case, which we're always curious about, but you sound like a busy court reporter who gleaned a lot of good intel at this hearing today, because what you're saying, to be very clear with everyone, is that as soon as Monday, there might be a put up or shut up for Michael Cohen to say that on the grounds that he could incriminate himself, he will not speak in open court, which has major ramifications for him, for Donald Trump, for anything he did that touches the Mueller probe. This all started with evidence gathered there, and obviously for the Stormy Daniels case. I want to turn to something else I want to put on the screen for folks to understand. These are new docs. This is, right here, some of the key material that the judge knows that we don't yet in court. When there's certain things to support something, they can be publicly redacted, so only the judge has it, as you know. When we look here and you see some of these redactions, to me, they sounded like places where the feds were saying, we have reason to believe there was ongoing misconduct or concealment that made the raid urgent. What was your interpretation, and what was the significance of this in your view as a lawyer?
Well, I had the same interpretation that you did, Ari, when I saw these documents. I think that one of the reasons why they executed the warrant so quickly, or when they did on Monday, is they were concerned the documents were going to be destroyed or spoliated, as they say legally. And that's one of the reasons why they did that. But they mentioned in court today that they believe that some of the documents that may have been seized could go back as far as 30 years. So, look, this is a lot of documents, and there's probably a lot of potential misconduct in these documents if what we've heard in the past relating to Michael Cohen's conduct and his tactics is to be believed.
On behalf of Stormy Daniels, who has pushed a lot of this out, what do you say on her behalf today? How does she view all this?
Well, with each passing day, she becomes more vindicated relating to the fight that she's conducted. You know, she sacrificed a lot, Ari, over the course of this process. Not a lot of people have reported on that, but she's put herself on the line, and her family's gone through a tremendous amount. And someday that's going to be reported.
The nature of the criticism of the process from your side on behalf of your client was effectively that it was unfair throughout. That Mr. Cohen was not acting in good faith, as the lawyers would say, or worse, was acting improperly or potentially feloniously. Does the pattern that the feds are starting to draw in court today support and match that in your view?
It's 100% consistent. It's exactly what we've been saying, and I think ultimately it's going to be proven by way of these thousands, if not millions, of documents. And let me say this. You showed the video of Michael Cohen sitting on the bench with some friends of his on a beautiful day here in New York. Really ironic, because while he was doing that, I was in court and I was listening to Judge Wood criticize his attorneys for their inability to get simple answers to the most basic questions. And I think on at least 2 occasions, she asked them if they had access to their client.
Client list,
to their client.
To Michael, yeah.
To Michael to answer questions. So if this guy had time to sit on a bench and take in the sunshine while his attorneys were in federal court, perhaps he should have been in federal court assisting the judge in getting answers to the questions she posed.
It's an extraordinary series of developments that you've been in the middle of, and I know you were in court today and busy, so I appreciate you coming on the beat tonight to share your first reaction. Michael Avenatti, as always, good to talk with you.
Hey there, I'm Chris Hayes from MSNBC. Thanks for watching MSNBC on...
But anyways, yeah. I got the Zuckerberg interview, but I'm not gonna play it. Yeah, y'all can go watch it if you want to. I might upload it to my YouTube channel. I'm actually gonna make some movies too. So like I wanna talk to y'all about what they're gonna do before I let y'all go here. They're going after Trump for being connected to WikiLeaks, which they claim is connected to Russia. Trump begins to distance himself from Cohen after raid. Prosecutors' comments indicate records unlikely to contain privileged info. 16 cell phones seized in raid. Excuse me. Faith hinges on 32-year-old corruption fighter. Ford abandoning American sedans. Berkeley must face suit alleging bias against conservative speakers. I don't care much about any of this stuff. What I do care about, it ain't really necessarily Donald Trump. It's us. Okay, folks? It really is. It's us. Nothing more, nothing less. And we all voted for Donald Trump. And Donald Trump's done a lot for us what time he's been in office. He's been great on TPP. He's done some things that, I disagree with. And I'm not going to lie. But, I'd probably done things different. I don't know, I'm not president. He is. So who am I to question this, I ain't gonna question him on the stuff that I don't agree with. I sure ain't gonna question him on Stormy Daniels and that old thing. And what's the big deal here? Like, how can they even go after him for that? That's crazy, man. And that's the best that they can come up with? Are you kidding me? But anyways, I don't think that they're gonna fail. They're gonna fail. And I can't wait till they do. But anyways, that's what they're going to do. They're going after Donald Trump. They're going after WikiLeaks. They're going after the so-called Russians. They're going after everybody all at one time. Roger Stone, they just announced a lawsuit on him. This is from Politico. Hear that big coal truck going by? Coal truck or log truck one? Roger Stone tried to mate with his son, documentary producer said. There you see Roger Stone. But that's what they're gonna do. Y'all can go read it if you want to. More JFK documents released, some held back. That's up on Drudge right now. Let's check it out. Spain Wolfpack jail gang jailed for San Fermin sex attack. That's from the BBC. A Spanish court has jailed 5 men for sexually abusing a young woman during the famous San Fermin bull running festival, but acquitted them of rape. I guess this is in Spain. I've got a new link for the YouTube channel. You can just type in bit.ly/AlexMorganTV. That's bit.ly/Alex, ALEX, Morgan, MORGAN, TV. bit.ly/AlexMorganTV. Yeah, but back, I want to tell y'all about my dream now. I want to build one of the best YouTube channels that there is. But in order to do that, in a hurry, I really need y'all's help. If y'all could go to Patreon and send me $1 or $2, I would appreciate it. I need new equipment bad. I need a new computer. I need a new camera. This spring and this summer, I'm going to get out and do some traveling. I'm going to show y'all some places in some remote wildernesses and some things going. Who knows what I might show y'all. I also I want to get some drones so I can like show y'all the landscape of the place where I live and wherever I go. I'm gonna like fix me up a dashboard cam, which I've pretty much got that going on. But hey, I wanna do some things with this channel. I don't want. I want to set a standard, okay? And this is one of the reasons why I kind of change things up tonight with the live stream and the podcast and this and that. I want to draw in some more viewers. I would appreciate if y'all would hit the like button and tell your friends and tell your brothers and sisters and cousins and aunts and uncles and mummies and daddies to subscribe to bit.ly/AlexMorganTV. Go to patreon.com/AlexMorganShow. Send me $1 or $2, and hey, when I achieve my dream, so shall you reap the fruit of the harvest. And that promise I have right now. Anybody that sticks with me, I'm gonna stick by you. And let me tell you something. My word is, it's just like it. My word is all I've got, and I won't break it for nobody. Okay, and that's just the way I am. But yeah, like I said, just share the videos, share the link, tell your friends, send me $1 or $2. I'd like to hire a crew member or two. I could do so much more if I had help, if I had equipment, the sky is the limit, okay? And, you know, I know that it's more up to me than anything that, you know, I succeed, but it's also up to you too, and I appreciate any positive comments that y'all leave. As far as negativity, y'all don't like it, y'all can just change the channel, change the video, whatever. But yeah, y'all don't leave no bad comments on my videos, please. I wouldn't do that to y'all, and you know, that sort of thing, whatever. I definitely suggest everybody get involved with Gab. That's gab.ai. It's the best social media network that there is. And do not follow @RealDonaldTrump, because it's not @RealDonaldTrump. It's some Trump hater, and he kind of jumped me today and this and that because I tagged him in a post and whatever. Man, people are pathetic, okay? And this movement that we got going on is not for the pathetic, okay? Well, it is, in hopes that they might wake up one day. I don't know. I really don't. I hope so. But I ain't got much hope for them, okay? Anyways, I'm going to leave y'all with that and go get ready for bed. Got a big Friday coming up tomorrow. I love y'all. I hope that everyone prays for me and helps in any way that y'all can. Because I need y'all, or I wouldn't even ask, you know? I mean, here's a video that we never played.
Now, former U.S. Secretary of State Madeleine Albright. She's out with a new book, Fascism, A Warning, and your timing is incredible. Thank you very much for being on. It's great to see you.
Good to see you.
I wonder who you're warning, ultimately, with the title of this book.
Well, I'm warning the American public because this book and the timing of it, I hadn't planned to have so many things be happening that really validate some of the things that I have been saying. And I would have written this book no matter what, but I do think that the book gives kind of a historical picture of where fascism was and how different it is in every era. And I do think that there are certain steps that are there, and we are seeing the kinds of things that I've been warning about, which is a maligning of the press and talking about the press as the enemy of the people, a president who thinks that he's above the law, the use of slogans and the meetings to really generate even more division in societies, and a lack of sense of what democratic institutions are about. So I didn't think that it was going to be as timely as it is. One of the people that I quote in the book is Mussolini, and one of the things he said, which is so telling, is if you pluck a chicken one feather at a time, people are less likely to notice. I think that what's been happening in the last few days, there are a couple of feathers that have come out of the chicken.
I totally agree. Joe has a question for you. Joe?
Yes, so Madam Secretary, thank you so much for being with us. Tell us, if you will, let's talk about your personal background. Obviously, you were extraordinarily close to Dr. Brzezinski, whose family was chased out of Poland because of the rise of fascism there. Mrs. Brzezinski's family chased out of Czechoslovakia. But talk about your own personal story and why this warning from you is so personal to the people of America today in 2018.
It definitely is, Joe. And I was born in 1937. My father was a Czechoslovak diplomat. And when the Nazis marched into Prague in March 1939, he escaped the Nazism. And my mother and I was 2 years old, we moved to England. When we came back, my parents found nobody alive. I never quite understood what that was about. I was a little girl and I thought I didn't know my grandparents. And then my father was chased out again when the communists took over Czechoslovakia. And I think the closeness that I had with the Brzezinski family does have to do with a very common background. And so we all saw the horrors of fascism. I later found out that 26 members of my family died in the Holocaust. And so I understand this, and I understand when we don't pay attention. The country that I was born in was sold down the river because of appeasement and the Munich Agreement. And I think that that's what I'm warning about. It's these steps that people think don't matter, and it's normalizing the abnormal. And that's why I think it's a warning. And Joe and Mika and Willie, what I have said, you know that statement, see something, say something? I've added to that, do something. And that's what I'm advocating.
Do something, yeah.
And let's talk also about the widespread belief in America for so long it can't happen here. That was the belief in Germany in the early 1930s. That was the belief in Czechoslovakia throughout the 1930s. Explain how it can happen here, as you said before, one feather at a time.
Well, I think because we have a tendency to not pay attention to these kind of small steps. And I think Americans are optimistic and idealistic. I certainly am. But when asked about my optimism, I say, yes, I'm an optimist, but I worry a lot. And so I do think it's important to
do this as a warning. It truly is, and that we need to pay attention. And I was thinking this morning about all the things that are going on and how they go together. The discussion that you've all been having about what's going on with Mr. Mueller and the law and trying to say that it's illegal for them to do the variety of things that they're doing to find out what's going on is exactly what I've been talking about. A president who has no regard for the law and who is basically saying that all that you guys say is made up. And so that and the combination of what's going on in Syria is that truly this is one of the most complicated times, and we need a free press that can tell it like it is.
Tell it like it is.
Investigation, as you point out, including just this week, is sort of the nexus of all those concerns, where he undermines the FBI, the Justice Department, and the press all in one story, and he's done it again even today. You wrote an op-ed in the New York Times. The headline was, "Will we stop Trump before it's too late?" I know you don't write the headlines, but that was sort of the spirit of the piece. When you say, "Will we stop Trump," what do you mean exactly? Before his term is out, or just vote him out of office next time? How do you mean that?
Well, I think that we have to watch what's going on. I think that I have been also saying that it's Article 1 time. The first article of the Constitution is about the power of Congress, and I would like to see them be more proactive in terms of trying to figure out what's going on and to be more supportive of the kinds of investigations that are out there. I'm not a lawyer and a legal expert on all these things, but I do think that we need to be very vigilant. And I do think on my to-do list is we need people to go out and vote, and young people and older people to go out and run for office. And then the other part that I've really been talking about, I would really like to see some civil discourse. People, I think, that know me know this. I spent a lot of time with Jesse Helms. I respect Republicans. I may not agree, but I do think that what we need is some kind of civil discourse. And I think we need to listen to those young people that were marching so that they didn't have to wear flak jackets to school. So all those aspects is what I was talking about.
So Article 1 time means more investigations of the Russian relationship in addition to the ones that are already taking place? Or how do you mean for Congress to be more aggressive?
Well, I think on the Russian relationship is very important. And the part, we clearly know the Russians did something. There's no question. And because President Trump is so concerned as to whether he was really elected, he will not look into that. And so it is very undermining of our legal system. And so I do think that's one of the things that needs to be investigated even more.
I'm almost embarrassed to have you comment on this, but the president tweeted this morning about Syria. I'd like to just show them to you. Russia vows to shoot down any and all missiles fired at Syria. Get ready, Russia, because they will be coming, nice and new and smart. You shouldn't be partners with a gas-killing animal who kills his people and enjoys it. He followed that tweet up with, "Our relationship with Russia is worse now than it's ever been, and that includes the Cold War. There is no reason for this. Russia needs us to help with their economy, something that would be very easy to do, and we need all nations to work together to stop the arms race." Your comments on that, and especially as we are focused on your book.
Well, I do think that it is very important to understand what the Russians are doing in Syria. I do think that there needs to be some kind of a plan, not kind of one-offs. You do not have tweets about something that is this serious, and that's what worries me. There have been crises before. They were done by, resolved and worked on by diplomats that knew what they were doing, and not just kind of tweeting, "We cannot afford this. This is a dangerous situation." I find interesting that Trump is finally saying something to recognize who Putin really is, but not this particular way. We need a plan.
It doesn't seem very well thought out. Almost, in my opinion, knowing him seems like a deflection. Your book, I will always remember when you tracked me down in Georgetown years ago. It was right in the run-up to the campaign. And you just were so angry about Trump. And in your eyes was a fervor or a fear that I'd never seen before in general.
That's right.
And I'm wondering if this is what you were concerned about.
Folks, these people are so dangerous, okay? They're so dangerous. Listen to this.
We have heard that 500,000 children have died. I mean, that's more children than died in Hiroshima. And is the price worth it?
This is back during the Iraqi war, okay? This is during the Clinton administration or Bush, first Bush, I'm not sure. Second Iraqi war, I get. No. Anyway, just listen.
We have heard that 500,000 children have died. I mean, that's more children than died in Hiroshima. And is the price worth it?
I think this is a very hard choice, but we think the price is worth it.
That was May 12th, 96. Turns out she's been making an awful lot of TV appearances lately. She also appeared on The Talk, looked like, 2 weeks ago. Former Secretary of State Madeleine Albright on Russia probes Syria meeting with Kim Jong-un on The View. She was on The Late Show. Let's check her out.
Crispy.
But anyways, let's don't pay no attention to that. I'm not getting no money out of it, so.
Welcome back, everybody. Folks, my next guest was the U.S. Secretary of State and Ambassador to the United Nations. Please welcome Madeleine Albright. Kids, they love Madeleine Albright.
Yeah. I just was on the train coming up from Washington.
Okay.
And the conductor asked me if I wanted a wheelchair, and I said, no, I'm going on Colbert to kick ass.
Not mine, I hope. I don't know if take in a fight.
No.
Well, you were Secretary of State, Ambassador to the United Nations, as I was just saying. There's so many things going on in the world right now, so many foreign policy challenges for the United States right now. We saw over the weekend horrific images out of Syria, where it appears that the government of Assad, possibly with the help of the Russians, wants to be. Donald Trump says this is Barack Obama's fault, because the first time this happened, Barack Obama did not use military action against Assad's regime. Do you think he's right about that?
No, I don't. I mean, I do wish Barack Obama did put down a red line, and I personally wish that we had followed through on that. However, what had happened was that Barack Obama was looking for support from Congress because he didn't want to do something outside the law, and then Congress would not support that. But I do think the thing that is the issue, President Trump actually had the same event a year ago when they took these kind of action. And the truth is that it was just a one-off because there's no Syrian strategy. I mean, that's
just a one-off in Syria using the weapons?
No, in us responding to it.
Because there was a targeted missile strike on a Syrian base.
Syrian base, and also it had come as a result of chemical activity by Assad, same kind of thing. And President Trump said this was the way that he had to pay that back to show. But there was no strategy at all, and that's what the weakness of all this is. We have no idea where he's going because last week he actually said that he wanted to pull forces out of Syria, and I agree with Senator McCain, who just said, well, maybe that emboldened Assad to take this other action and use chemical weapons again.
So what should the United States do? Like a significant military response?
I think there needs to be a full look at what the issues are in terms of the humanitarian aspect to try to make sure that, in fact, there can be people that go to help those that have been hit, that feed the people. And I know that there's a Security Council meeting actually taking place this afternoon in which Ambassador Haley has made very clear that this is blood on Putin's hands and others, and that there's going to be significant, well, as she put it, they're going to have to pay for it and try to figure it out.
Do you know what that these people done during the Iraqi war? Do you know what they done to Iraq? They went in there and they just bombed the hell out of everybody. I'm not even kidding. These are civilians here that they killed, I think.
US 60, 90 plus 2, inbound for Alfie.
Peace for 1, this is Gerald. We're back at radio. I understand your free change on 4. Free change through this time.
Just drop, one guy off.
Okay, what are they doing? Just jumping off and moving?
And they are... Very aggressive vehicle. They stand by. These are carrying weapons.
Are they?
What that looks like weapons to me. They're covering them up right now.
Hey, what are they covering up in that truck? Can you tell?
Yep, I just saw a weapon. I'm pretty sure. I'm 99.9% sure that was a weapon. These guys just hit back. We need to take these guys out.
You jumping in the weapon right when they out?
I think they just covered up weapons. Like,
Call the Dolly Bike, ask before clearance.
995, we go 5-3. We believe we reserve a white bomber truck with 6 personnel with weapons. On the permission to fire.
320, we'll call next 15 for departure.
875, roger.
Roger, clear to engage. Initials are Mike Oscar, over.
Roger, initials are Mike Oscar. Center President.
We're clear to engage. Proceed to engage in 30 millimeters. Put them in your Chaz.
They're my Chaz right now.
Mike, cleared us to engage. We're cleared. We're going to shoot with 30 millimeter Chaz.
Roger, you got him?
Roger, we got him. You got him, Mr. Chaz?
I got him.
Ladies,
Blazing.
fire.
Firing. Good shot. Got him. One more. Let me get this guy coming up. Where'd he go?
Big guns 5-3. Can I get a grid to that location number?
Let me know if you got anything. I got one more. I shoot.
Yeah, I got a guy in the bush. I got away. We can get him.
Shooting. He's pulling a weapon right now.
Is he?
It looks like it. I'm shooting. Get up. Get up. Get up.
We're getting shot at. We're going to shoot him back. Clear 1-1, roger.
I have this limit right now.
Roger.
A WAS missile.
Okay. We're way out of constraints for that.
Just look. What do you want to watch? That ain't no. But anyways.
And so the main issue here, Stephen, is that there is no strategy, and we don't know. And then there is a new national security advisor, John Bolton, who has been very, very hawkish about what should be done in terms of using force, and it has to be part of some overall plan.
You have a new book. It's called Fascism, A Warning. What are you warning us about? Are you warning us about President Trump?
They're warning us about the same thing that they
about
are.
what is going on, of democracies being under siege in many places. We have just seen elections, yesterday in Hungary, where an authoritarian leader was elected. And I write about what's been going on generally in Turkey and in the Philippines, in Poland, Hungary, Venezuela, about the trends that are taking place where there are
Fear is the main factor, where various groups are set against each other, where the leader identifies himself only with one group and doesn't care about the individual rights of the others, and is willing to use anything to stay in power. So,
what brings about the rise of fascist regimes? If they're happening all over the place, what's the commonality? What's the fuel?
well, the commonality is that there really are a variety of economic problems and questions as to whether they have their jobs and how people feel, and a division in the public. And it is a problem. There's no question about it.
So when people feel economically insecure, they turn to a strongman?
They try to figure out what to do, because democracy is a little slow in dealing with it. And so then a strongman is there and says, I've got all the answers for you.
But don't we look for that in our leaders anyway? I mean, isn't there a fine line between strength and fascist tendencies?
Well, very much so. But the problems with fascist tendencies is if the leader thinks that he's above the law, if he actually says that the press is the enemy of the people, when there are a lot of simplistic answers, when there...
Folks, hey, I gotta go. I love y'all. Peace. Remember, donate me $1 to patreon.com/Alex Morgan Show. You can send it to paypal.me/amorgan83. Be sure to subscribe. Be sure to hit the thumbs up. Send me some good comments. You can send emails to alexmorgan9183@gmail.com or thealexmorganshow@gmail.com. Follow me on Facebook, Twitter. Be sure to check out gab.ai. I love y'all. See y'all in a day or two. Peace out.